yeah. My bad. Just a tad bit late. I'm sorry. Just a touch. I love this intro. This my man. Hey, it's a beautiful thing when you can break bread with your brothers. This my man DJ Los, man. Check him out. Born and raised here in the D. Put them beats together. Gets down with several out there. I know I watched him rock out with Royce the 5'9" and them. But that's where these beats come from. My man DJ Los. Shout out to him. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Hey, what's going on, man? I'm your host, man. It's real simple. I go by New. It's just a simple NEW. NEW. Go by New. Which one is that? Yeah, I'd like to welcome you all to another edition of No Fan Sports Podcast, man. We're getting out here a little earlier. Actually, we getting out here because we had Thursday is the beginning of the week, as far as the NFL is concerned. I'm heavy into the NFL. This is, that was football was my first love. So, we track that, but we talk about all sports and different things like that too, though. This is nothing unusual, But like I said, I go by New, just real simple. And before we even get started, man, like I said, this is had in my opinion, we had a phenomenal Thanksgiving Day card as far as wow, let's get that out of there. As far as the games that was portrayed, we had a first game started out with was the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. They followed up with the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. And then they closed the show with the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Supersonics. Man, they don't even exist anymore. Who remember that? Remember that team? I mean, those days, Seattle Supersonics. I remember I had a fondness for them back in the day, way back in the day when they won the championship. And I think it was 79. Had my man, one of the greatest backcourts in NBA history. My man Dennis Johnson, may he rest in peace, and my man Gus Williams, man. Gus Williams, the Wizard. That's what they called him. Go look him up, man. That was a great teams back in the day. Who we got here? Okay. There's comments on here. Let's see what they're talking about. Let's see what we're talking about. Okay, that's a like. Okay, what's going on, T? Appreciate you stopping by, bro. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get this out the way, man, because that's what we go touch on. We go touch on those three games, and then I caught this video of that young lady, man. She out there, young lady, Sexyy Red. And I just got a comment or two I want to just, touch on with that. But before we even get into that, though, I got to go through we got to go through all the what you call it. All right, let's go. Let's hit these disclaimers real quick, man. Let's do this. Okay. And I always ask too, for those, if you stop by, man, you get a chance going to the site. I don't speak fan groupieslappy on Facebook, and you scroll through there. I think you'll catch the bylaws or the mission statement out there. And I'm gonna read it again, man, because it's important. Because when I first started out on this junction, man, trying to do these podcasts, it was more or less not in competition with anybody, especially none of the larger organizations, anything like that. But I started out doing this because of the dialogue that I wanted to share. I wanted to talk about sports without all the fanfare, without all the groupie stuff, without all the slappy stuff? Can we have a honest to goodness discussion about sports without without the love affair? So let's get this get the disclaimer out the way though. Ooh, almost broke these bad boys. Check 1 2. Yeah, we got you. All right. No fan sports podcast is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of no fan sports podcast policy. Reference to any specific products or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by no fan sports podcast. The views expressed by the guests are their own, and the appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of any of them or any entity that they represent. Views and opinions expressed by myself are those of my own and do not necessarily reflect the view of No Fan Sports Podcast or any of its officials. And then we go on with fair use disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under the section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for the purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, and then I said I got the disclaimer out the way. But also, let me hit this mission statement again real quick. This is no fan, okay? And a fan, the definition of a fan is an enthusiastic devotee as of a sport or a performing art, usually a spectator. Groupie, a fan of music, a fan of a music group who follows the group or concert tours, a fan of an athlete or a celebrity who tries to see the athlete or a celebrity as often as possible. That's a group. And then we got the slappy. The slappy is just a straight stupid or moronic person. But again, with the whole statement, this is somewhat of our mission statement here at No Fan. Like I said again, while I was explaining it, we are here to talk about sports without the love affair or any entity or whatever topics that we may, but we're going to talk about it without the love affair. And so let me read the mission statement. It says, no fan is a fan groupie slappy free zone. We here at No Fan are dedicated not to just the analytics, metrics, and or statistics that are part of any given sport, but also the non-measurables that can't or doesn't get recognition as recognition on the stat sheet. Things like heart, mental tenacity, drive, hunger, etc., as well as being able to understand the difference between athleticism versus actual skills or fundamentals. Instead of being caught up like a deer in the highlights, as you all over his or her physical gifts that from above. Yeah, that's a fan talk. No. We speak X's and O's that many of you mistake as hate. Okay. Now that we got that out the way. Yeah, many of you mistake as hate. All right, check this out, man. So week 12 started. And again, like I said, the first game started at 12:30. And happy belated Thanksgiving to you all. I hope you enjoyed your whatever meal it was that you prepared. I know, basically back when I was younger, we just did traditional, you know what I'm saying, on Thanksgiving and Christmas, the turkey thing, the ham thing. And, I know some people out there that may not do ham or whatever it is, case may be. But nowadays, we kind of mix it up a little bit. I know I put some ribs out there on the grill myself, had a little ribs, a little fried turkey, definitely got to have your mac and cheese, sweet potatoes and greens. I don't know what a family gathering is like without, any of those items, the side items. The meats can change. I don't have any problems with that, but you got to have some mac and cheese, got to have some greens, some good collard greens. Oh my goodness, eat collard greens until I just bust. And then if you do have the turkey, naturally get the little bits and pieces and leftovers, and probably I'm gonna put together a little. Go grab me some. I think is it navy beans or white beans, one of the two, and see if I can make me a little ham soup. Give me some cornbread and different things. But that's making me hungry. But anyway, so Well, what's that? We don't want all that. Uh-oh. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm plugged in. Hold on. Stay, stay. No, stay. Stay. Down, down. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Cause oh my goodness, when you lose that power in the middle when you're doing things, it's a terrible feeling. Excuse me for that. Just had to make sure we was still lit. But that power goes quickly. Stay blue. Talking to got some nice pit bulls in here. They just animals. Kids. So anyway, as I stated, what is that there? Oh, seriously. Okay. Yeah, as I said, he had 3 games yesterday, 3 NFL games. And I'm gonna touch on. I just lightly touch on them, but we're gonna put a little emphasis on the Detroit Lions, and reason being, one, because I'm a local, born on the corner of Tuxedo and Webb. We're local here, and I've said this many times before. If you ever caught any of my other podcasts or anything like that, you ever heard them or seen them? Born and raised here, man. Born and raised. Hometown kid, and the only sports franchise that I don't rock with is the Detroit Lions. So naturally, always catch a lot of flack. I mean, I used to rock with them back in the day. Um, Realistically, probably last time I really got down with them was like the late '70s, early '80s. Billy Sims was the man back then, but and we will talk, like I said, we go hit them a little last because we go into a little emphasis, look at we go dive into them a little bit more seriously, okay? Because what we have here, for those who's not around, and I'm sure for those that different states that have football teams, and you recognize you all's fan base and how erratic or sometimes how they can just be just a bit much. And that's what we somewhat kind of dealing with here, but it's to be understood too, though, because last week they had reached the mark of 8-2, a mark that they hadn't been seen here. I mean, it prior to me, before I was born, 1962. They hadn't seen that type of record, 8-2 since 1962. So we talking a nice little long time here. Almost 60 years. Well, about 60 years, whatever. So, but getting into the bargain, like I said, the last game of the evening was the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. It's interesting with Seattle. I used to follow them a great deal, and I was a big fan of that Legion of Doom. And when they was on their Super Bowl runs, probably should have had 2 in a row. I think it was not only a bad throw pass by Russell Wilson that it got intercepted at the goal line, and my man Butler there, but I thought it was a bad play call. I'm not even sure, because I always felt that what's his name, Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch. He got him down there, man. He should have gave that guy. It was time enough. He could at least had 2, maybe even 3 cracks at the end zone before they had to even think about changing up the play into like a run play. I mean, outside of being a run play to a pass play or whatever. I thought if he had got him, walked him down there to the goal line, and I felt that they should have, just finished it off, man, and let him walk on in with it. But shortly thereafter, them windows opportunities, man, they kind of like in football years, free agency gets you, age, you get some players, you lose some people here and there, and then, the injury bug and different things like that. And that was their window. They had went and they won one. I thought, they was on a nice little dynasty run, but that pass pretty much did the men. Team pretty much broke up at that particular point, and everybody started spreading out and going around a little bit. I understand when Bobby Wagner's back, but he had left for a minute too. So, and like I said, I was in love with that Legion of Doom. But they played the 49ers yesterday, and right now, man, the 49ers, even though they had, I think it was prior to this week, they had lost 3 in a row. Okay. Yeah, they had lost 3 in a row. With my man Brock Purdy back there. I've been watching him. I think he's decent. Right now, though, I'm really believing that I really want to put him in the category of a system type of guy. As of right now, real nice and safe. But anyway you look at him, he's playing some decent ball right now, and he's keeping San Francisco in the thick of things. I think it was a great addition by them to add my man McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, even though he had kind of been in and out on the injury bug while playing for for Carolina, but I thought he was a good addition. He fit them. For some reason, just seemed like he fit them well. And he's been playing well since he's been there. I think right now he has more touchdowns, the most touchdowns in a single season than any other San Francisco 49er running back in history. They also added my man Chase Young, former defensive end for the Washington Commanders. I think, naturally, it's not even a thing. I'm sure that the Commanders, like I said, they played Dallas yesterday too. The Commanders is pretty much in a rebuild. They'll be, they auctioned off some great pieces. Like I said, they gave up 2 defensive ends. They gave up Sweat. I think Sweat went, where did he go? Oh man, I can't think of where he went. Did he go to Philly? I had to look that up. But they let him go, and then Chase Young. These are two young defensive ends that Washington, they drafted. You know what I'm saying? They got a lot of tread left on their tires. But with the addition to Young, to an already great great defense in San Francisco, just made them that much better. You know what I'm saying? So it put a lot of pressure on my man's last night. Ooh, excuse me, hold on. They put a lot of pressure on Geno last night. And speaking of Geno kind of revamped his career over there in Seattle, man. They Russell left and went to Denver. Geno stepped in, back as a starting quarterback. Been playing pretty decent. But San Francisco is on another level. It seemed like even with the 3 losses, okay, they got my man Debo Samuels back, or Debo Sanders, whatever his name is. Pay that man. He makes the difference with them. Well, why they playing or whatever, man. Pay that man. Oh my goodness. 2-way player. They utilize him somewhere everywhere. He might be running the ball, catching it out the backfield, whatever, man. Lining up as wide receiver. That's his position as wide receiver, but he's a great overall, athlete all the way around the board. So, and they look like they may be the team some way or another, one way or another, I say, for the NFC. I think the road to the Super Bowl is definitely going through a couple places, a couple teams. I think definitely the 49ers, and also the Philadelphia Eagles. Even though they just had two kind of like tight wins, but they still look real strong. They look real strong. Okay, they creep by Kansas City last week. So, but as far as San Francisco is concerned, man, they got the run game, they got the pass game, their defense is tight. They're gonna be a tough team to beat. And I actually like Kyle Shanahan. His father was somewhat of a pretty decent coach, kind of a little stern stickler, but I think Kyle does a great job over there. And like I said, I'm going in reverse because we really go touch on them Lions afterward. And the second game was Cowboys versus the Washington Commanders. And again, like I said, the Washington Commanders, I was just speaking on the players that they had traded away. So they definitely in a rebuilding stage. But the guys that's still there, I think his quarterback is Sam Howell or whatever. I'm not sure where he come out of. But let's see if we take a quick look now. Let's see if we find this dude. Let's see if we can find this dude. Because I'm not what's his name? Hold on. Sam Howell is his name. Sam Howell. Let's see where Sam Howell come from. Oh, that's a young man out of North Carolina. Okay. Yeah, young man out of North Carolina. Not bad. But anyway, Washington definitely, they got to change in the guard. They got a lot of stuff going on over there as far as that's concerned. So I'm expecting them to make some more moves along down the way. But they tried to do the best they could. But Dallas Cowboys, man, I talked about the road to the Super Bowl, definitely going through San Francisco, possibly and Philadelphia. And you might even want to throw Dallas into the fold as far as that's concerned, because that defense is lights out. Dak's been playing, the quarterback and the offense been running at like full tilt since actually the loss they took to the 49ers. They've been playing lights out across the board. And they are actually a complete team for the most part. I really like the fact that the beginning of the season, I noticed this from Jump Street anyway. I think that Jerry Jones and them decided not to re-sign Amari Cooper. Cooper was Dak's go-to guy to get, when it was trouble. He knew he can count on Cooper. That's who he went to. And they had brought in my man, I think Brandon Cooks. He's been around the league for a minute or two. And initially during the first few games, man, him and Brandon Cook and Dak didn't really link up too well. They was having issues. Even CeeDee Lamb, was questioning, some things about the offense or whatever. But they seem to figure it out. And the connection between he and Brandon Cook is fine. Matter of fact, I think they spread the ball out pretty good yesterday. Overall, I think he's in like 10 or 12 different, receivers or whatever. And like I said, he's been playing lights out. He's been playing lights out since the loss they took to the 49ers. And it's a complete team. They got defense, they got offense. And speaking of which, on the defense, shout out to my man DaRon Bland. Is it Bland? DaRon Bland? I think it's DaRon Bland. Yeah, make sure I got this young man's name right. I'm almost certain that's what it is. Yeah, DaRon Bland. This gentleman, let me see, where is that? Yeah, that's him. DaRon Bland. He was a 5th round selection. Started his college career out at Sacramento State. I'm not sure what that is. Sacramento State. Well, it doesn't say it's listed as a JC, but I imagine it's just a real small school or whatever. And finished it off at Fresno. Came into the league in 2022 as a 5th rounder. And he stepped into that role after Diggs went down. He was their nickel. But they slid him outside and he stepped in around. And last night he broke that record, NFL long-standing record. He has 5, count them. Oh, yeah, it's smoke time. Yeah, he has 5 pick sixes. They did a little quick check last night. He has scored more points defensively by himself than most teams. I think the next closest is, I forget what team it was, but it was only like 3 of them. He has 5 by himself. So, and I brought him up not only just speaking on him because of his feats, what he's been doing so far, but, and I don't want to jinx him. Wow. Excuse me. I don't want to jinx him. I don't want to jinx him, but in 1995, Dallas Cowboys was playing, I think, the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl. It was a young man, a young DB. He played on the opposite side of Deion Sanders at this time. This is when Deion was a Dallas Cowboy. A young man by the name of Larry Brown. He got 2 picks in that Super Bowl. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I don't think they was the most skillful picks. Like he was really, reading the offense, and and a lot of people feel the same way. It was like he was just in the right place at the right time. But he came away with 2. I think he did run one of them back. But anyway, he came away with 2 interceptions. End up winning the MVP of that Super Bowl. And with that performance, it came with a lot of hype, man. So everybody watched the Super Bowl. It's one of the most watched events, worldwide. And he came away with a lucrative contract. Teams come pluck away some of your stars when you going in these Super Bowl runs. And he went over to the Oakland Raiders. And from what I'm understanding, he only ended up starting 2 games. Basically, long story short, he never lived up to the bill what they thought he could be. And I don't necessarily want to call him a bust per se, but I think he, as far as one of the most overrated, he got paid. I hope he, saved his money and did well, putting it up or investing it or whatever that case may be. But those 2 picks in the Super Bowl got him a nice, healthy contract. And I said that to say that my man Bland, he's got 6 pick sixes. And I just hope, and it's not even a matter of hope. I think he's a much better cornerback than Larry Brown ever was anyway. And whether he remains a Cowboy or some people come calling for him, I think he'll be all right. So right now, your top teams on the in the NFC, you got your 49ers, your Eagles, your Cowboys, and then your Detroit Lions. They ended up losing yesterday, but they are actually now 8-3. And when I said a more serious look into the Detroit Lions, the W's are what they say. Somebody told me it was a saying somebody had made here recently talking about we have never seen this before, and which is true. Like I said, they went 8-2 last week. They were 8-2 last week, and that was the first time they had seen a record like that since 1962. Like I said, that was before my time. And so we hadn't seen anything like what's been going on. You got a lot of celebration, and a lot of people really excited about what's going on here in Detroit with the Detroit Lions. And like I said, it's rightfully so, because if you've been here for, I'm over that mark, but if you've been here for this a long period of time, you've never seen this. I've run into strangers, just in general conversation, speaking, maybe open the door for somebody and go Lions or something like that. He say, and Lions go to the Super Bowl. One gentleman said, it's older gentleman too. He said, Lions go to the Super Bowl, meet me down. Says I got drinks for everybody. So it's that buzz. But this is where no fan comes in. Like I said, we not in love. We not in love with a player, a team. Even if we are, we still go speak frank and candidly about the shortcomings or whatever the case may be. And one of the biggest things that I had a problem with, one of the reasons why I don't truly follow the Detroit Lions or not a big fan of theirs, is because of a lot of bad decision making they've made over the years, whether it be the front office, coaches, whatever. I kind of felt falling out of favor with them, and that was the reason why that I kind of like, if I was ever on the wagon, I jumped off because it's just so many just bonehead moves they have made. Front office bonehead moves, coaching personnel bonehead move, player, just one after the other. So I'm watching yesterday, and I was like, at the beginning of this year, like I said, I don't really follow them, but I'm a resident here, and I would love to see them move further than where they've ever been before. And and like I said, you can go check out some other podcasts. Jalen Carter was on the board. He ended up getting drafted at number 9. The Lions had the 6th pick. They opted to trade down, and they picked up Jahmyr Gibbs. I like that young man as well. He reminds me, he the closest thing I think you've seen of Marshall Faulk since Marshall Faulk retired. But the Lions offense wasn't the problem. They went on a nice run during the final, I think it was the final 6 games of last season. They won all those 6, and that's what all the excitement was coming into this season here. But during that time when they made that run, their defense was ranked, I think, 29th or 31 out of the 32 teams. So going into this past draft that just happened, where they got Gibbs, I just felt like, okay, they addressed this defense and everything be everything, because the offense is clicking. The offense, it's been clicking this year. I don't think the Lions had a problem scoring offensively against anybody. Yesterday's game against the Cowboys was a bit much. You're getting a lot of pressure. They got a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but overall, they still were capable of moving the ball when he wasn't pressured to the 10th power. Golf, that is. So I really thought they should have, paid attention to their defense, but they didn't. They took a lot of offensive players, and don't get me wrong, the people that they did select, all of them are playing. All of them are playing well, and this is what you want as a GM, I'm sure, or owner. I'm sure your draft picks actually producing for you, and that's not the problem I have with them. But they didn't address the need. So what you seen yesterday with the Lions against Green Bay, and shout out to my man Gary, defensive end for the Green Bay Packers. He's a Michigan man. Yeah, Rashawn Gary, he's a Michigan man. You getting a lot of pressure. They got a lot of pressure, and force made golf uncomfortable. And a couple errors came out of there. They turned the ball over a couple times, few times, with this, that, and thing. But overall, I just think schematically, the Lions didn't address some of their issues. So fast forward, I thought it was the time just before half, late in the second quarter, Dan Campbell goes for 4th down, and forget what it was. It was 4th and something. I'm like, at this particular junction, take the points. You need to see something on the board. As far as I'm concerned, you need to see something on the board. A couple turnovers here and there, and what's the name? Green Bay looked like they just slowly going by. But most importantly, their defense has been pressing you real hard, and getting back to the Lions and their defense, they just wasn't that strong. Getting no pass rush. If you don't hear Hutchinson's name, it's nothing else going on. No one else named on the defensive front, whether it be a starting defensive front or a substitute coming in, is making enough noise where you actually know who they are. Only name you hear is Hutchinson. Also, I felt that I think it's Avalone and Rodriguez. I felt that both of those linebackers need that linebacker situation need to be addressed. I'm not overall pleased with either one of them, and I'm saying that to say that if and this is just like I said, we know fan here. And so for any Detroit Lion fan or whatever, get hold of this and you listen to it. And I don't have any problems talking or debating with anybody about, what I'm talking about. But these are the things that you're going to need when it comes time when you start talking about, making it to the Super Bowl, the SB. Okay, so now we're seeing a lot of gaps in the team. They still playing. Their defense sometimes be playing like, but I thought they should address the linebacker need. I wanted them to go defensive tackle, linebacker, and after they did defensive tackle, linebacker, you can do what the hell you wanted to do. That's just the way I felt at the beginning of this season in the draft, but they didn't. Okay, though the defense has gotten better, but I named those cats. Detroit Lions defense is too slow. I'm looking at some instances where, sweet plays where, you got guys shooting gaps and their defense is just too slow. They don't have enough speed on defense. Any type of mobility quarterback, they have problems with. If you go back and watch the game that they played against the Ravens, it was just like taking candy from a baby. Lamar was just probably easily one of his best games he ever played in or ever performed in since being pro. And he put on a hell of a show. They put on a hell of a show, and Baltimore has that defense. Okay, so with that being said, that was the precursor to let me know, which I already figured anyway, that guys go have problems with some mobile quarterbacks, and they haven't addressed them. And you should. So the shortcomings, which the average Joe Lion fan don't want to pay attention to, these things are there. And the last piece I just want to add on to this too. I love Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell played tight end for the Cowboys. I forget who else, but anyway, just the hometown boy or wherever he's from or whatever. And he's taking on the play calling duties or the go through or the whatever the case may be. And I just thought, and he's been gambling a lot. They could, some folks like to mix it up, wordplay. They'll say they won't call it gambling. They call it being aggressive. And he called himself being aggressive yesterday. In the third quarter, about 5.5, or just a little bit over 5.5 minutes left. On their, I think it was on the Lions 23, on their own 23, he decides to fake punt. Now, this is not the first time he's did some weird things like that, because he's done it before. I mean, ever since he's taken over the play calling duty. But I'm assuming most of the stuff he was doing was just out of desperation to trying to maintain the job. Okay, so you get a lot of that, and he decides to go for a punt, a fake punt on his side of the ball. On the Lions side of the ball, I think they were at the 23, about 6 to 8 minutes left or whatever it is. He gave them a short field. He gave them a short field, Green Bay. And Green Bay had been showing that they was moving the ball and they was very comfortable with what was going on with them. He decided and ended up giving them a short field. Okay? You can't do that. You can't do that. You just can't do that. Okay? So so you go for it on fourth, you do a fake punt, and it gets wrecked. Now I think it was the second quarter, just prior to the end of the second quarter, I think it was, and it was a time where I felt the Lions should just took a field goal. Just take the field goal. They end up turning over downs because it went for fourth down. Take the field goal. The field goal is right there for you. Put points on the board. You can't keep going. You can't keep entering on the other side, on the opposition side of the field, and you're not putting points on the board, and your defense is not really stopping them. The offense is playing halfway decent. You just need to see some type of results. He didn't take the field goal. End up turning it over on downs. And then, like I said, in the third quarter, 5-something left to go. I forget what they were down by, but he decides to do a fake punt at the Lions 23. And then, I think what's the name? They turned around, came away with some points. So that was just bonehead. So as much as I like Dan Campbell, yesterday proved to me that he is not the guy to take them to the promised land. And I know a lot of people probably don't want to hear this because they're thinking they possibly can go this year. Stranger things that happen. But I think with his desperation calls that they like to discuss, his risky calls that they like to disguise as or name as being aggressive, that was absolutely the most bonehead decision made by head coach. If I was the owner of that team, team president, before they even you'd had to meet me in my office. It was just that bad. That was just a call that you just don't make. Punt the ball, still got plenty of game left. Just when you get the ball back, first of all, you need your defense to stop them, and then once you get the ball back, you need to, do it with some urgency. But he's been doing stuff like this ever since he fired. What was his name? I forget his name, but I think his last name was Anthony. He was he had the brother. He was the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers for a few years, and he fired him and he took over the player calling. And like I said, they like to disguise it, or even himself as we speak. I'm not gonna stop being aggressive. That wasn't aggressive. That was dumb. And you can't have your head coach doing that. That was just bad. So I don't see him taking them to the promised land. What they've gotten out of him though was his moxie, the grit, his attitude, the work ethic. They actually, they got that part out of him, but he's not the guy that's going to take them to the bowl. Doing a lot of desperation calls, a lot of bad decisions as far as down in distance and the risk that you're taking. It just wasn't worth it, And in reality, and I'm hoping they got. And I can see possibly maybe they may lose 3. It's a possibility they could lose 3 or maybe 4 of their remaining games. Okay, you still got Minnesota. They got to play Minnesota twice. Minnesota kind of got out, and I thought this was a rebuilding year for them. But prior to Kirk Cousins getting injured, they was kind of playing some strong ball, and then they turned around and brought in that young man. What is his name? I can't even think his name right now. But anyway, Dobbs. They brought him in, and he was doing a great job, playing quarterback in Arizona while Kyler Murray was on the shelf or whatever. So they bring him in, and it's like all systems go, and he brings another dimension into the game. He's a mobile quarterback, and like I said, the Lions don't play mobile quarterbacks well. They got to see Minnesota twice. They still got to see Minnesota twice this season. Then they do have, I think they've got another meeting with the Bears, which was a rough game for them. Mobile quarterbacks. Okay. It's going to be an ongoing thing. So long story short, and this is just looking at it rationally. The locals, we need to slow down on all the hype. I know everybody's excited because they haven't seen anything like this before, and they right there on the cusp of actually, making some changes and not be the laughing stock of the NFL, even though they're one of the oldest teams. I think they one of the original 6. They won the original 6. and hopefully can get it together. Like I said, I don't think he's the coach that's going to take him to the promised land, and most definitely, we got to quit disguising being aggressive with too great a risk. That was just a bonehead decision, and it didn't pan out, and he ended up losing, which was not, just wasn't a good look for them, man. And I wish them nothing but the best, because, like I said, this is I'm born and raised on the corner of Tuxedo and Webb. No, I ain't never seen nothing like this. And even though I'm not a true Lion fan, the sports enthusiasts of me, and then the part local wouldn't mind seeing something different from what I've been seeing for this long period of time. But most definitely, Dan Campbell is not go. I don't think he's gonna be that guy. That fourth down fake punt was something that I remember I used to play. I ain't played the video game thing since 3-button Sega, but I remember we used to make rules up, on fourth down, anything fourth and some stupid number, you have to punt unless you down and it's late, or it's down and it's in the fourth quarter and you behind. Other than that, you're not going for a fourth down play, 3rd and 60, because the computer, has some glitches in there. You can finagle some things. So we used to have a little rule, even still, none of that crazy play calling. And that decision had PlayStation, Xbox written all over it. I mean, it was just keeping it 100. And speaking of keeping it 100, it's a time in the show, man. We kind of touch on things, not necessarily all the time. It may not be sports related, but it may just be about something just going on locally or globally or whatever, right? So we always stay on code no matter what, and we always keep it a buck. So it's a young lady. I'm gonna call her the queen of the ratchet rap, because it's a new ratchet rap phase out right now. They have stooped a little bit lower than say, and I ain't really dogging these young ladies like that, but they kind of shrunk below Cardi and Megan, Lil Kim, some of their aggressive rap or whatever. But those ladies that I named off, they actually had some bars. I think they were one of your, some of your better rappers, especially Lil Kim. You had Foxy Brown out there back in the day. I mean, some nice female rappers out there. Some came to you with the, sex appeal thing, the heel thing. Then you had some that just, just be out, just keep it professional or whatever, keep it real nice. But we got the queen of the ratchet rap, I call it, and I'm not hating on her. The one thing, regardless of the ratchetness, I had to give her credit for finding the lane. She found the lane. I don't necessarily agree with the lane for a whole bunch of reasons, but she found the lane. She out there making an honest day's buck or whatever. And there's a few others out there. I don't even really know their names. And I truly don't even know any of the songs that she really made. Only thing that really stands out is something that she said in rap in one of them songs. I can't think of it, but she said her booty hole is brown and her coochie is pink, which is okay. It's real true or whatever. But since she's been garnering all that attention, she's been getting a lot of invitations, hanging out a lot of places, and a lot of interviews and different things. And if you're on social media, naturally you go see an interview or two, because that's all they talk about. You can be disgusted in her as you like or whatever, but this is what people are talking about. She's created a buzz. Like I said, she found a lane and she running with it. I don't agree with none of it. I can't stand it. And I'm not even gonna tell you how I feel about her and her ratchetness. And let me say this. Ain't nothing necessarily wrong with being ratchet, but I just think it's a time and a place. Okay. We've all done some ratchet things. I just think it's a time and a place. Okay. So I'm scrolling through on social media. And I tried to find it so I can give my man these two guys, actually it was two white guys, man, these two Caucasians, get them they flowers, they put the video together. I'm thinking they were like almost somewhat like a comedy team, so to speak. But anyway, they had a sit down session with Sexyy Red. Now, like I said, I don't, she found a lane. I'm happy for her and those who have, don't particularly care for it. I don't really think she's the greatest, definitely not the greatest lyricist, female lyricist I've heard, but she found her lane. So she's been getting a lot of interviews or whatever, right? So I'm thumbing through, come across, she's sitting there. There's one white dude, he dressed in all red fat dude too. He all red bodysuit. He had some red hair, wig on like Heat Miser, so to speak. And then the guy who was asking the questions, he was I can't think of who he reminded me of, but it just seemed like a couple lame dudes, just being real. But they seemed like they had like a little comedy thing going on, so it was kind of like real. You know what I'm saying? And it was put together pretty cool. But he was interviewing Sexyy Red, and like I said, ratchet young lady found it. But this is what I want to say: you can't always judge a book by its cover. And you've heard it, I've heard it, and did it many times before. And I actually judged her I judged her from the cover. Now, even what I'm finna say that really, really made me kind of like her, I kind of like, okay, I'm gonna give you a somewhat of a pass because of what she did. So she doing an interview. My man they doing some, I say this, tell me first thing come to your mind type of deal, and they just pretty much, that was this situation or the way the interview was going, asking her a lot about her likes and dislikes and talking about her record. And, and he asked her about, is your booty hole brown? And she was like, of course, such and my coochie. They talk about the language barriers or the, we females, they coochie. What do they say? I forgot the word. He said, well, she told him, she was like, you all, you say coochie. And, the white guy, she's like, no, he was like, no, we don't say coochie or such. She's like, yes, you do all such. I forget the word that he used, but I even didn't know what the word meant. I didn't know what the word meant. And I can't remember what it was. I hope I can find this video again, so I can look into it. But guess what Sexyy Red did that just turned me on after he told her what they don't use coochie. He told her another word. And she said, I ain't never heard of that. But you know what she did? She went and she grabbed this. This is a walking dictionary, thesaurus, anything you need, you can get in here or look around in here. When I was younger, you had door-to-door salesmen that come try to sell the family encyclopedias, and whatever was in the encyclopedia, that's pretty much what you ran with. Okay. And if you didn't have that, you had to go down to the main library. If you was doing book work or whatever, study, you had to go down to catch the bus, go down to the main library, no matter what season it was. so you can study, check out a book, sit there and do your homework or whatever, whatever. But she pulled this boy out. She pulled this out and she typed in that word that my man, said to her, and to look it up. She looked up the words. She looked up the word. She didn't get offended about what he asked, or they trying to make her look dumb, so to speak. But she didn't get offended by him using words that maybe flew over her head. And that word flew over my head. I've never heard it before, and I didn't know that it was used in that context. Blue, get on and sit down. I didn't know it was used in that context by the Caucasian or white community or whatever, right? So she picked that phone up and she looked up the word. Instead of going, like getting upset because he think, he trying to, make her look bad, or her rattling on like she knew what it was, she picked that phone up and looked up the definition. And that right there just turned me on. I'm like, okay, this young lady. And the reason why I'm going to tell you, listen, I've had older people or women, or I had one young lady get offended, or they called themselves trying to tell me about myself. Well, where I get to talking and I'll be saying stuff sometime, and it and I don't be out here using a bunch of big words and nothing like that, but the conversation or what it's about may fly over their head, and they think I'm trying to, make it seem like I'm better than such. And what I told them, and I'm gonna tell you like I tell everybody, if you're having a conversation with somebody, I tell my kids this too. If you're having a conversation with somebody and they say something that either use a word or they expressing themselves in a manner, or say something to you that you don't understand or you're not familiar with, and instead of you sitting there and looking at them and faking it like you know what they're talking about, or you too embarrassed to say that you don't know what it is, or you don't know the definition, or you don't know how that word is used in context, before these, you say, well, I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with, like, okay, you said what? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that word. What does it mean? I don't get offended when people call themselves talking over my head, whether they call themselves talking over my head or they do it accidentally, because I'm going to stop you and I'm like, okay, what does that word mean? What is that? Long story short is nothing. If you don't know, you ask a question. You don't act like you know. You ask the question so you can do and handle that situation properly. Kudos to Sexyy Red and her ratchet self for showing and displaying such. You can't just, as much ignorant shit as she does or says, or the things that come out her mouth. That was the most classic. That's what you do. Oh, I don't know. And she wasn't embarrassed by it. She looked it up. She didn't know. And then she came back and had an answer. And he had said something else to her, and she looked the word up. Damn, I cannot think of what the other word was. And she looked at communist. He told her she was a communist. And she was like, what is that? And she pulled that phone out and she looked it up. She read the definition of communist. And even after reading the definition that was displayed to her, she came out and she said, I still really don't understand that word, but I don't think it applies to me. I'm not a communist. As ratchet as her rap is, I don't think she really truly had bars, but I judged the book by the cover and I just assumed she was a complete idiot. But she's not. She's just whatever come on her mind, she's just very open about it and don't mind speaking publicly. But shout out to Sexyy Red. Thought I'd never say anything like this. Shout out to Sexyy Red. really prove me wrong, and probably whoever may see this or pay attention to some of that detail like that, prove them wrong as well. She ain't just ratchet. She got some sense. She got good common sense. I think she's taking advantage of a moment. Like I said, she found a lane. She in it. I guess it would be no different if the Lil Nas X found him a lane. He got in it. We'll see what the longevity wise look like with her. But right now, like I said, she popping. And I just had to shout that out, man. I had to give her credit for that, man. I didn't think she had the capacity to do anything of that nature. So long story short, if you talking to somebody say something to you, and you don't understand either the situation or the word or the frame, explain that to me, break it down. That classic line in Malcolm, was it Malcolm? I think Malcolm, when Denzel was playing Malcolm X, and this is when they was going on a little stealing spree or whatever. He asked that one dude, he said, break that down to me like I'm a 3-year-old. I think it was in Malcolm X. Either Malcolm X or Philadelphia. One of the two with Denzel. He was like, break that down to me like I'm a 3-year-old. You ask the question. You don't know, you ask. Okay? Shout out to Sexyy Red. Hey, I go by New, man. Just simple NEW. Hit when you get a chance, man, get over to the YouTube page, man. It's I think it's No Fan TV 20. The DMs is in the description. You can see and follow me, man. Hit them like buttons, subscribe, so you know when we going live. We try to do this, man. We trying to move this channel on, you know, trying to do bigger and bigger things. Our people that we endorse, those people that, you know, that rock with us. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know, we doing this. This is just us, you know. So like I said, if you get a chance, get over there. And also, if you check this out later, let me know via comment, man. Let us know via comment, man. Let me know that you're a day late and $1 short. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, as long as you check it out, share, like, subscribe, the whole deal. I go by New, as you can see in the screen, just simple NEW. And I've said this before, I'm real excited about this year's NFL season. Thursday was great. The food was great. And we go see y'all again, man. We see y'all soon, man. I got some. I'll check that out. I got some stuff coming on that. And then okay, who is that? Hey, what's going on? I like that. And we gonna do that Bye Barry. It's coming up. I gotta take a look at it. You know, I talked with a friend of mine here, and we go check it out, and then we go talk about it. All right. Appreciate you stopping by. You stop by later. Like I said, let me know your day late and $1 short, and I get at you, man. It's New. No Fan Sports Podcast. Appreciate you. Blue. Cut all that out. Get over there and lay down, man. La la la, no. You know you don't belong with him.